The NFL already released the who and the where, but now on Tuesday they released the what and the when to the 2009 NFL schedule. Hey, how are you folks? Jason Horowitz, glad to be with you here on CBSSports.com. Let's bring in our NFL columnist, Clark Judge, to break all this down. And Clark, before we even get into any specific games or anything of that nature, when did this happenstance occurrence become an event?
I think when they invented the NFL Network, Jason, it's an odd thing because it's basically like a national holiday now, the way they treat it. It's very difficult to get this information. It's like getting the Pentagon Papers from the NFL. They don't want to give it up until prime time, and they put it on the NFL Network. But I think it's the coming of the NFL Network kind of coincided with this being treated as state secrets.
Clark, obviously because of that, that means things get broken down more and people, everything gets scrutinized a little bit more. But do you think too much is made here in April of who has the quote-unquote easiest and toughest schedule in September through the rest of the season?
Absolutely, no question about it, because you don't know who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. We're basing it on last year. And keep in mind, Jason, you look at last year, for instance, and I would have told you Seattle is going to be a good ball club. I would have told you Baltimore probably is not going to be good because they're going to struggle. You look at teams like Cleveland was supposed to be at or near the top of his division. Well, as we know now, that wasn't the case. Baltimore was very good. Seattle wasn't. Cleveland stunk. And so I think we read in everything on last year's record. But as we know now, teams change overnight, and that's happened pretty regularly in recent years.
And one of those teams, Clark, having said all that, is the Chicago Bears, now having what they think is a franchise quarterback in Jay Cutler. But you look at what, at least by the 2008 records, who has the easiest 2009 schedule, and there you see the Bears with the easiest schedule.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to make a lot of that because you don't know, the Lions aren't going to be 0-16 again, but that's figured into that schedule because they have to play them twice. So that pumps up any team in that division, but they're not going to be that bad again. I don't know how bad they are going to be, but you're from Detroit, you can tell me they're going to be better. But that's the problem with this. It's all based on what happened a year ago, and I'll tell you, under Jim Schwartz, the Lions will be better and they'll be competitive.
Yeah, and as you said, the teams in the NFC North have the 32nd, 31st, and 30th in terms of most difficult schedules by 2008 winning percentage, so you're dead on about that. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, Clark, because, in terms of, again, last year's schedule and last year's record, they have what it would be considered an easy schedule, but there are some fun games to watch for, and it starts early when they play the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Steelers would be an interesting team to see in Week 4. They've got San Diego at home. That's a game I'd like to see as well. But, again, when you look at them, people say, how do they get that schedule? Well, it's according to a format that's been put in a long, long time ago, so they simply run into teams that fit into that format. Plus, again, they had two bad teams in that division. That's Cleveland and Cincinnati. There's 4 games of their schedule.
All right, Clark, let's take a look at some other early games that could be fun to watch in the early part. And, you talk about teams that could be fun. You've got New Orleans and Drew Brees in that offense, and they go to Buffalo early on in the season and take on T.O. We knew about the other games. Philadelphia, New Orleans could be fun. When you think about all that, Atlanta at New England, is there one game maybe that gets you really excited early part of the season?
Well, I think certainly the first game in New England does, because it's Tom Brady coming back, and it's Terrell Owens in New England. Not so much Terrell Owens, but we see him in a new uniform, and I think people are looking for him to do something on the field, off the field, whatever. But most especially, I'm looking at Tom Brady. I want to see what he's like in his first game back, and yeah, that one certainly piques my interest. And in the second game, second week, you've got Dallas at home opening that new stadium. I want to see that one as well.
And that, of course, will be primetime. Dallas has got 6 big-time games. The Bears have 5 primetime games, so all that should be fun to watch. Clark Judge, thank you very much, sir. Now that we got the schedule out of the way, we can talk NFL draft next week. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Jason. Thanks.
All right, folks, for more on the schedule, Clark's 10 games not to watch, Pete Prisco's 10 games you have to watch, be sure to read about those here on CBSSports.com. For Clark Judge, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care, folks.